Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. My name is Mario Florima, and I'm the #1 educator in the Amazon FBA asset recovery space. And today we will be talking about wholesale versus private label IP risk. A lot of Amazon sellers think IP suspensions only happen to counterfeit sellers or people doing shady stuff. That's completely false. Guys, some of the biggest Amazon accounts get suspended while selling authentic products. And the scary part is most sellers don't even realize they're violating policy until Amazon shuts the account down completely. So in this video, we're breaking down the real difference between wholesale IP risks and private label IP risks, and how smart sellers protect themselves before Amazon destroys their business overnight. Okay guys, now we're talking about the real danger behind IP complaints. These are not small policy violations. Amazon treats intellectual property issues like legal threats to the platform itself. You have to understand that once Amazon questions your trustworthiness, everything changes, account health drops, ASINs disappear, and permanent deactivation becomes a real possibility. Amazon does not care how much revenue your account generates if they believe your operation creates legal risk. Now we're diving into what actually matters here, understanding why most sellers fail recovery. Guys, a lot of people focus only on sourcing products and making profit margins, but Amazon is looking at compliance systems, operational controls, and risk management. So in other words, recovery is not about begging Amazon for mercy. It's about proving your business is now safe to trust again. All right, now we're talking about one of the biggest misconceptions in Amazon wholesale. Sellers think, well, my products are authentic, so I'm safe. Authentic products can still trigger IP complaints if you lack proper authorization. And this is where sellers get blindsided, because authenticity does not automatically mean authorization to sell on Amazon. Gray market sourcing, this destroys wholesale sellers constantly. You buy real products from Costco, liquidation suppliers, random distributors, and think everything is fine. Then Amazon asks for proof of authorized sourcing, and suddenly your invoices collapse under scrutiny. Guys, gray market sourcing is one of the fastest ways to trigger IP complaints because Amazon cannot verify the chain of custody properly. Now let's break this down properly. Supplier verification. Most sellers never properly vet suppliers before placing inventory orders. Huge mistake. Amazon rejects generic invoices, personal receipts, PayPal screenshots, and marketplace purchases constantly. If your documentation looks weak, incomplete, or unprofessional, you're going to have a bad time. Amazon wants business-to-business relationships with verified distributors, not random online purchases. Now we're talking about private label risks. And honestly, this is where a lot of sellers accidentally destroy their accounts without realizing it. Because even if your product is original, your branding can still violate trademarks, patents, or trade dress protections, similar fonts, similar packaging, similar naming structures. Amazon's AI systems detect all of this automatically now. This is where private label sellers get blindsided. One seller launched what he believed was a completely original product, different supplier, different logo, different listing. So he assumed everything was safe, but the packaging style looked extremely close to another established brand. Similar colors, similar font structure, even similar product presentation. A few weeks later, an IP complaint came in because guys, you don't have to copy something exactly to trigger problems. Sometimes looking too similar is enough. Now we're diving into what Amazon actually looks at. Trademark infringement. Sellers think changing a few words makes them safe. No, using phrases like Nike inspired or Apple style creates immediate legal risk. Even visual similarity alone can trigger complaints. You have to understand that Amazon systems analyze logos, fonts, layouts, and naming patterns constantly. So if your branding looks too close to established brands, you're going to have a bad time. Moving on to the next page, design and patent violations. Guys, this area is extremely dangerous because sellers often violate patents accidentally. You copy a kitchen gadget design, a packaging layout, or a product feature, and suddenly you're dealing with patent complaints instead of simple policy warnings. And patent claims are much harder to fight because they involve actual legal ownership of functional designs. Okay guys, now let's break this down. Counterfeit accusations. This is Amazon's most severe IP violation category. And here's the scary part. Even authentic products can trigger counterfeit complaints if your sourcing documentation is weak. Amazon does not care if the product is genuine if you cannot prove authorized sourcing properly. So in other words, authenticity without documentation is basically useless during suspension appeals. Now we're getting into one of the most critical parts, listing content violations. Guys, Sellers steal images constantly without realizing the risk. Manufacturer photos, competitor descriptions, AI-generated graphics, all of this can trigger copyright complaints. And once Amazon receives a copyright report, your listing can disappear immediately. You have to understand that owning a product does not mean you own the brand's marketing materials. Now we're talking about what actually matters here, the authenticity misconception. This confuses sellers constantly. You can legally buy authentic Apple AirPods from Best Buy. That part is fine, but you cannot automatically use Apple's logos, branding, or official marketing language however you want on Amazon. Guys, physical ownership and intellectual property rights are completely different things. Now let's move into the next page. First sale doctrine limitations. Sellers throw around this legal term constantly without understanding the boundaries. Yes, you can resell products you legally purchased, but no, you cannot imply official authorization, brand partnership, or licensing rights. Amazon does not care if you misunderstand legal doctrine. They care whether your listing creates brand confusion or compliance risk. Now we are talking about something very important, why most suspension appeals fail completely. Weak root cause analysis, generic plans of action, blaming suppliers, blaming Amazon. Guys, Amazon does not care about excuses. They want ownership, accountability, and operational changes. If your appeal sounds templated or vague, you're going to have a bad time. What a real winning POA actually looks like. First, clear root cause analysis, then immediate corrective actions, then preventive systems moving forward, and finally, supporting evidence for every claim you make. Guys, Amazon wants proof of systematic improvement, not emotional promises. Now we're talking about how this really works long-term and prevention systems. Amazon expects operational controls that are measurable and documented, weekly account audits, supplier verification, SOPs, staff training, listing review systems. All of this matters now because Amazon wants to see that violations cannot easily happen again inside your business. Now, let me give you a real example of why prevention matters. One account we reviewed kept launching products without checking trademark databases, supplier histories, or patent risk beforehand. At first, everything looked fine, but over time, complaints started stacking up across multiple listings, and every problem could have been detected earlier with proper monitoring tools. Once automated checks were added, risk products were flagged before launch instead of after complaints. Because in other words, the earlier you catch the risk, the cheaper the mistake becomes. Now we're diving into proactive protection tools. Guys, manual checking alone is no longer enough. There are software platforms now that detect trademark conflicts, supplier risks, and patent problems before you even launch products. And honestly, prevention is always cheaper than recovery because once Amazon suspends your account, the damage becomes much harder to control. Comparing wholesale and private label risk directly. Wholesale sellers usually struggle with supplier legitimacy and authorization issues. Private label sellers struggle more with branding, design similarity, and trademark conflicts. Both models carry serious risk, just in different ways. So in other words, there is no completely safe Amazon business model anymore. Now we're getting into one of the most critical parts, when to seek professional help. If you're facing counterfeit accusations, permanent deactivation threats, or multiple IP complaints at once, stop trying to freestyle your recovery. Guys, complex suspension cases require legal level documentation and strategic communication. Every wrong move during high risk appeals can make recovery much harder later. Guys, your Amazon suspension does not have to become permanent, but recovery requires strategy, professionalism, and operational changes. The sellers who survive long-term are usually the sellers who build strong compliance systems before problems happen. Hope you guys found value in today's video and have a more clear understanding of what Amazon thinks when this suspension happens. If this video provides value, please like, share, and subscribe for more helpful content. If you're an Amazon reinstatement consultant and you're looking to see if you qualify to be in our Rios Inner Circle group, then feel free to check out the links below in our description section. We host free masterclasses every week where we dive more into specific topics like these and give you more details on how you can better assist your clients while saving you time, money, headaches, and most importantly, protect your business assets moving forward like always. See you guys next time.